So about Michael Jordan, how you gonna hit from outside the finals? You can't even get in.
Hello and welcome to the Basketball Addicts podcast. And good one. Chris has one of his brothers here on the podcast today, so you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Brandon Christopher. Super excited to be on the Basketball Addicts podcast. Like I said, man, thanks to Chris and Jason for extending me the invite, man. I haven't listened to this podcast, and I think, man, this is one of the up-and-coming sports podcasts. It's dope, so let's get into it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, Chris, your brother has a great voice. Yeah. Like, he can do some serious audio work. It is, like his voice is, like, legit.
It's funny that he say that because, like, Jason used to do, like, the sports casting for the school that we went to. So he would know. He would know.
Wow. Hey, man, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem. All right, Chris. So, we're just gonna freestyle today on basketball.
Yeah. So, I think the thing that we should really touch on today is the Lakers 6-game losing streak. What about and AD's back now. 6-game losing streak. They're 31-47. Yeah, he's back though. He came back.
Oh, okay.
So they're 31 and 40.
I thought I saw
31 and 47th, and I think they're in 11th place right now. They on a 6-game losing streak, and they're definitely not making the play-in. There's no way.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Just off of that, it's been a terrible season as a Lakers fan, and the only good thing that the season could possibly bring is if LeBron wins a scoring title, like we said in previous podcasts. But I really don't see that happening because Giannis is on a tear right now. Giannis probably going to take that scoring title and the MVP this year.
And just to put my input in, man, as a former NCAA scholarship athlete playing the game for 16 years, man, when I watched the Lakers play, they missed the key components of teamwork and camaraderie. That team, the chemistry isn't well, man. I bet those guys aren't bonding in the locker room, and it shows on the court, man. A lot of things happen in practice, in the locker room that's in direct correlation to why they cannot, close games and win games, man. Defense is nowhere to be found. Everyone just looks lost. LeBron, he's damn near 40. You have to carry the team still.
Yeah, he's damn near 40.
AD, great talent, but if he sneezes wrong, he may tear meniscus, man. so it's literally one of those things, man. I think those guys is missing, chemistry with one another and also adding some more pieces. But I just can't put on the players, man. It starts with the staff and the coaching. So, yeah.
And that opens up to what Jason wanted to say about Frank Vogel being a terrible coach.
Yeah, I think his lineups have been terrible for a while because it's just
absolutely
players that don't fit on the floor. I feel like they don't have an identity. I feel like Frank Vogel is this defensive coach, but they have an offensively talented team depth-wise. I mean, you got Melo on the bench. You got Russ, LeBron, AD. Right. Malik Monk, I really like the way he plays. Like, you could be an offensively focused team with guys like that. It's just they don't rotate their players well, in my opinion. Yeah, I could definitely see that I feel like one NBA team that has that chemistry mastered, and I feel like that's a good point, is the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors play together
100%.
48 minutes every single game.
Yeah.
1 through 12 is completely bought in. And I feel like that's just, some cultures and NBA coaches really know how to do that. So does Greg Popovich. There's some great coaches that have been able to master that.
But it piggybacks, just showing, the locker room culture, the culture that's in the building, which is in direct correlation to why that team plays so well and why they go out there and execute every night.
Yeah.
Everyone knows their role. Everyone holds themselves accountable, and those guys go out there and get after it continuously. So I really think the Golden State Warriors are going to do well in the conference, and I wouldn't be surprised if they, if they win the conference, or
win the championship?
I'm not going to say win a championship, but I do see them as contenders. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I will also say the Memphis Grizzlies is another one of those teams that have great relationship, great communication, great camaraderie.
Goodness, yes.
Great team there. Completely, that's one of the most complete teams I've seen in the NBA. Especially, probably maybe even 1 through 12. They're deep as well too, and they have a lot of young guys who are really up and coming, and who have the like this. I know I'm the one guy who's like, oh, the Grizzlies have a chance to win it all, but I mean that's just my thinking. I will say it. The Grizzlies have a chance to win it all.
I think and just to piggyback what you were saying, Chris, I think they were on a winning streak, even though Ja Morant was out, right?
Yeah, they had Desmond Bane was putting up big numbers. Man. Dylan Brooke, I think, is finally back.
That says a lot, man. You got the star guy, and you guys are still able to put points on the board and win games.
Yeah,
it just speaks volumes the kind of caliber of players on that team and what the coaching staff has been able to do.
And they look like they're having fun. That's another big thing. They look like they're having a lot of fun just playing the game of basketball. And basketball, you know what I mean? Even on the highest level, 100%. I know it's a serious game, but you have to be able to have fun. You know what I mean? That shows through your play. You're happy with the guys out there. They're joking around on the bench. They're having a good time. They're joking around on the court, even in the after. You know what I mean? The Charlotte Hornets is another team that look like they're having a good time. They're like their camaraderie is really big over there too. It's just that the Lakers are just missing that component. Besides the fact that it's basically LeBron and then the rest of the team. Like LeBron, here's the ball. We're gonna get out the way. We're gonna wait for you to make a move with it. That's basically how it goes.
I think the Lakers are missing that component because you got a team of senior citizens on the team.
Senior citizens.
Everybody on the team is a little older, man.
And another thing is they putting too much faith in these 10-day contracts and into these G Leaguers. That's what's happening. Yeah. They don't have any true basketball players. They don't have any NBA players at all. The only NBA players are LeBron, Melo, and Russ. Everybody else is either a 10-day or a G Leaguer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody who got drafted.
Yeah,
except for Austin Reeves.
I agree with what you guys are talking about, the Grizzlies, especially when it comes down to Ja Morant. Ja Morant's one of those guys. When your best player on your team plays 100% and just doesn't know how to turn off that switch, it is infectious. It's kind of like Jimmy Butler in Miami. Jimmy Butler literally does not take off a defensive possession. He's the best player on the team. Doesn't take off a defensive possession. Goes through everything 100%. And it is infectious when the star is like that. So that's part of the reason why I think the Memphis Grizzlies have such a good chemistry. And it is rare for young guys to really have buy-in like that, because usually young players in their NBA career, before they get their first big contract, they're trying to put up numbers. They're trying to make their own lane. It's really rare to have a team that has chemistry like this and is willing to step back. Like a guy like Dylan Brooks could probably try to chase 22 points per game, but he doesn't. You know what I mean? There's just guys that could be trying to chase more, but they don't because they're sacrificing a little bit to be a winning team. And I feel like that's a really good point you guys brought up. It's rare to see a young team this mature this quickly.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, I'll still stick with my original thought that, this is the type of season that we're having in the NBA where a lot of unknowns are in place, so the Grizzlies could win it. At the right matchup, they could run through the West, in my opinion.
I think that could be a sleeper team, man. Just seeing those guys play, how those guys go out there game day in and day and night and get after it. You know, those guys are a brotherhood, and those guys go out there and they go out there and expect to fucking win, man. It just to have that mentality, it spreads to the locker room and through the building, man. So I wouldn't be surprised if that organization, takes the West, man.
It's possible.
I would not be surprised, man. That's definitely one of my sleeper teams for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know in the West I'm not as high in the Phoenix Suns as everybody else. But it's just because I believe in the playoffs, shot creation from individual players is more important because teams get more time to scout you. When guys like Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, a lot of those guys really can't do anything other than shoot a three, attack a closeout. They don't do much else other than that. So I'm really high. I think the Warriors are one, the Memphis Grizzlies are two. In my opinion, the best two teams in the West for the playoffs.
Absolutely,
that's fair. That's fair. I would give that. Yeah, because the only problem with the Warriors I have is the Stephen Curry problem. Is like, I mean, I know they can play and win and achieve high, achieve at the highest without him, but he's that glue guy. It's really special when you have a superstar like Steph Curry who's your glue guy. Like, he really brings the team together, and we've seen that when Draymond was out, James Wiseman was out, Clay was out. He really kept that team together and kept them on a win streak. I thought that he got robbed because he definitely was the most valuable player of the NBA last season.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback what you said, Chris, I think he's definitely a staple piece in that team.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think those guys can probably get it done without Steph. I think if Clay heats up the right way, if Clay heats up, Clay from a couple years had that ability to take over games.
He does.
Clay a couple years ago was crazy. I'm pretty sure that inner killer is probably still in there. Hopefully, it's not laying dormant. But if it wakes up, man, I think that without Curry there, those guys can still be contenders, man.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that Clay still does have that really high score.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he does have that really high score. Okay. Last night, I think he did have like a quiet 36 points. Like, that's 36 points. Like, we still it's 36 in a win though. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So basically, my thing is, I completely agree with the Klay Thompson take because a lot of people forget the year the Cleveland Cavaliers were going to win that NBA championship. The Thunder had them down 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals, and Klay Thompson loses his mind in a few games. So that's just a way to piggyback off of your point earlier about Klay Thompson being able to win. I mean, it's another thing is that a lot of teams play drop coverage and they play the centers close to the paint. And the Warriors and the outside perimeter attack is just the worst possible matchup for some teams like the Utah Jazz.
Absolutely.
And the Suns. Yeah. The Suns are going to have trouble with DeAndre Ayton sitting in the paint. So they're tough matchups for some teams.
That's because they're such a like you said, just such a perimeter threat. Especially so you have all these guys. Jordan Poole is definitely coming into his own. He definitely, I'm seeing maybe 6-man potential for him this year, 6-man of the year potential for him this year. I thought he should have got it last year. Because he's really coming into his own this season for sure.
Yeah.
He's really, really kind of starting to fill in with the system, because the one thing the Golden State Warriors do better than any team is shoot the ball. Mm-hmm. They shoot the ball very well. Everybody from basically 1 through 5. Draymond Green with his sometime, you know what I mean, when he wants to shoot it, but 1 through 5 can shoot pretty much. Yeah. Can shoot very well from the long ball. So as long as they can still keep that somehow, even if it's half of what Curry can do, they could still take over a lot of teams because a lot of teams are not prepared to try to defend from the perimeter as such. I mean, if every shot you take is from the perimeter, and so maybe let's say maybe 80% is from the perimeter, and you have Clay who gets hot and he knocks down 100% of the shots from the perimeter, you have to worry about down low. So now you trying to guard Clay, but now you throwing everybody at Clay, and now your paint is open. Now that gives Draymond Green space to work. Now you can get Jordan Poole cutting up and slashing and and creating shots in the mid range. It becomes a problem because you can't stop everybody. You can't if you slow one down, the other person's gonna drop 30 on you. So you have to pick your poison with the Golden State Warriors.
Absolutely, and just to piggyback what Chris is saying, man, I'm high on that kid Poole. I think he does show flashes of greatness and what he can be in his league. I think he'll be a threat. And just like Chris said, the Golden State Warriors have done a phenomenal job at mastering their way of playing. Those guys are perimeter guys. Yes. Those guys aren't going to get down and dirty in the paint with you. Those guys are going to spread out the floor and get paid on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think another thing that the Warriors do so well is they really choose the right players to put around the great perimeter shooting. Like they used to have Iggy for a while. Why? Because you need people to attack the basket to make the defense respect that, and it's more space for a guy like that to finish. And now they have on Andrew Wiggins. Now Andrew Wiggins might not be the player that everybody expected him to be, but he's still a freak athlete. He's still a guy that can get to the rim on dunk on basically everybody. So they just put the right pieces around. They have a vision of their team, front office, down, owner, down to the coach, and they just execute it at an extremely high level. And that's just what it is over there, man.
Yeah.
That entire team has really revolutionized the NBA because, you know, we've moved completely away, not completely away, but we've moved away from like the inside, the year of the big man. Now we've moved into the smaller guard who can just light it up from outside. Every team wants to be able to shoot 100 threes a game and make 80 of them. Every single team. But but now it seems that we're moving toward a faster paced game, a more skill paced game, especially when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, the way they play. They don't play very similar to the Golden State Warriors. They have their own style of play. Ja jumps out the gym, and that gets their whole entire team going. And now they're knocking down shots. You can't stop them inside. They have the inside-outside game. They have great rebounding with Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson. I mean, like, they're the team that's really going to revolutionize and push the NBA past its limits right now. They're that young team that really has it all.
Absolutely. You know what? And since we're in the West still, just to slightly switch gears, but I'm gonna stay in the West. Donovan Mitchell, if he wants to win, he needs to leave Utah.
Oh, yes, he does.
If he wants to win, he needs to, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be a great player in this league, and what he does on the court is phenomenal. You talking about a guy that has great bounce, IQ, a guy that actually understands the game, a guy that's a leader. And, he's one of those guys that go out there and play 100% every game, But I think if he wants to win, which I know he does, the guy has to leave Utah, so.
Yeah.
The problem with me with Utah
I couldn't agree with you more. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jay. No, you got it. I'll go after you.
Okay. I couldn't agree with you more because it's been amazing. There's been a lot of Donovan Mitchell slander lately. Like this pick aside Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell. Well, I'm going to choose the guy who's actually skilled at the game of basketball, not I mean, Rudy Gobert is 15 and 12 and can shot block at the rim, but he gets exposed by teams that can shoot at the perimeter in the playoffs because they just, he's in drop coverage. And I just, when you're Davion Mitchell and you literally are that guy scoring 3-level score at an extremely elite level, it's just like that old Kobe phrase that Kobe used to be pretty famous about. Why would I pass it to you when you don't work? Like Rudy Gobert, like, you get in the post, he can't, like he'll get switched on Klay Thompson and can't really expose him. Like it's he's not skilled at anything. So it's just I couldn't agree with you more. Donovan Mitchell probably will leave because this team is aging so fast. Other than Rudy, everybody, Joe Ingles, he's not there anymore, but Bogdanovich, you know what I mean? Mike Conley's really getting old. So I mean, he was around in like 2005 or 6. So he's been around for a while.
Yeah, I think Utah lost when that was last night. I think last night.
Did they lose last night?
The last game, I think they lost, and I just seen the frustration on Donovan's face, man.
They did lose last night.
The frustration on his face, like, damn, he wants to win, and just to have that competitive drive. I know that's in him, man. He wants to win, and he, like I say, man, he's one of those guys that show up every day to work, and he's going to give it his all. So. Just to piggyback on what you were saying, Jason, if he wants to win, he has to get out of Utah, man. He has to go.
Yeah,
he's definitely going to have to go. One of my big problems with Utah is that they're trying. I want to say they're trying to play like Jordan era basketball, where they're like, okay, we have one superstar and like a bunch of great. I mean, not great, but like okay, like pieces he's going to take us there. But even in the Jordan era, he needed Scottie. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? You can have a great talent in Donovan Mitchell, but who's going to be his second in command? LeBron, I mean, like he didn't win until he had Wade and Bosh. Curry couldn't win. I don't think he would have achieved a championship without Clay and Draymond. Everybody needs somebody.
Absolutely.
Why would they believe that Donovan Mitchell is just greater than the greats of basketball? Yeah. He's just coming into the league. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple years ago, he's not going to be greater than the greats of basketball without the right pieces around him.
But I also think that responsibility falls on the front office and the office doing the right things and putting the right players around him if he wants to stay.
Yeah.
If you know that you have this kind of caliber of player, which is, I think that Donovan Mitchell is a special talent. You need to surround around the right guys, like-minded guys, so you guys got a chance to go out there and win. Because, man, that's a tough conference to be in, man. So you want to go out there, win, surrounded by the right guys. So it pretty much falls on the front office, man.
Yeah. Oh, big problem with the front office.
Yeah. Yeah. So I completely agree. Chris kind of read my mind. Because Chris was saying that Donovan Mitchell is one of those guys that and then you brought up other players that needed other players, and I was thinking of Devin Booker. I was thinking of Donovan Mitchell's. Thank goodness he had this winning period of his career, because people, if you don't win, if you're a star player, sometimes people don't think you can do it on the big stage. Like Devin Booker before the Suns became good.
Yeah,
people were like, "Oh, he's just a volume scorer." Oh, Russell Westbrook. Trae Young before he made his run last year in the playoffs. Like, is this weird connotation that I hate in the NBA with that? And I'm glad that he's already won, and I completely agree with you guys that I'm pretty certain Utah Jazz gave Rudy like a 5-year, 185 something ridiculous contract, and that's the front office's fault. Like, you're giving, Draymond Green might get paid half of that, and he's the best defender in the past 5 years. You know what I mean? In my opinion, and so I couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Now, also, just to switch gears a little bit, and like I say, man, I'm actually enjoying this podcast, and everyone out there that's listening right now, thank you guys so much for listening, man. We appreciate you guys. Just switch gears a little bit, man. I was on Twitter. If you guys do not follow the Basketball Addicts on Instagram, please make sure you follow them. Reach out on all platforms, social media platforms, just to get the message, man. But I was on Twitter, man, and I actually seen the debate going on between, is Giannis better than Kevin Durant right now? Me personally, I want to know you guys' take on it, and then I chime in. But Jason, can you start this one off first? I mean, I want to hear your opinion on this.
Giannis better than KD. Okay, I'm listening.
Okay,
this is a good one though. This is definitely a good one. I've seen the same thing going on.
I can see the Giannis talk, but the reason why I'm going to go Kevin Durant is because Giannis needs the right supporting cast to be amazing. If he doesn't have the spacing, he can't really do much. We've seen it happen with Miami Heat when they used to build a wall and they really used to took away the paint. It was really hard for him to be dominant. Now, will Giannis still be 25, 8, and 8 without great spacing and great perimeter shooters and shot creators? Yeah, sure. But we're talking about KD, who just because he wants to win chooses not to average 32, 33, 34 a night. You know what I mean? Because if he wanted to, he can. Because he can get his shot against anybody. It doesn't matter. He can fill it up. It's just his size, his shot creation, his ability to any spot on the floor, he can dominate. Literally, he's one of the most skilled players of all time. And so I would take KD because KD, I can put him with anybody. You can put him on the Lakers. You can put him on Miami Heat. You can put him on the Bucks. He's going to be dominant everywhere. If you put Giannis on the Lakers, he does not have the spacing. So I'm going to go KD because he's universal.
So the Giannis KD thing is kind of weird because a lot of guys. Okay, so I'm gonna just play the middle for a second. So the reason why this debate even comes up right now is because Giannis has won all 5 meetings they've had this year. I think it's been 5. All 5 meetings they've had, he's basically owned Kevin Durant the entire season. And that's why a lot of people are making this accusation that, okay, Giannis might be better than KD, but they don't look at the whole thing. So here's the whole thing. So you have the Bucks and you have the Nets. The Nets can't survive without Kyrie and KD. But if KD goes down, Kyrie has it. If Kyrie goes down, KD has it. KD has shown us that he can win a playoff game by himself. So
absolutely,
he has shown us that last year. And that's what. And you know me, I'm really critical on Kevin Durant. But last year, after I watched that playoff game, I had to give him his respect. And I'm going to continue to do so because he's just a great basketball player. You can't compare the two because Giannis has not had a true second in command. So we don't know what the team looks like when he's not there. We don't know. They fall apart. Because, I mean, unless you're just well coached and you play in a smaller team, like they got lucky and played the Atlanta Hawks the one game he was out, and they got a chance to dominate a smaller team who didn't have a big. They had Clint Capella, but the Hawks had Clint Capella. That's the only big they had, who was basically getting beat up by Bobby Portis and Brooke Lopez. Robin Lopez? Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez, right? Mm-hmm. Brooke Lopez. Like, we really don't know what the Bucks look like outside of Giannis.
Right.
But we know what the Nets look like outside of KD. Yeah. Kyrie is there. We know what the Nets look like without Kyrie. KD is there. KD really is the leader of his team, just like Giannis is the leader of his team. But Giannis, I would say, may be more valuable to his team. But in the debate of who's better, KD is the better player. Because KD can really go on any team and dominate and their team becomes the best team in the league. He has that LeBron effect right now. He's so versatile because he's such a great. You could put him anywhere. He doesn't necessarily have to be Giannis run, jump, dunk Antetokounmpo because it doesn't matter. He can shoot over anything, get his shot anywhere. Right. He also is an underrated defender and a pretty underrated passer in my opinion.
Absolutely,
he can dominate the game in so many facets of the game. But Giannis is. I'm not gonna say he's one faceted because he started to shoot, so he's getting that extra game. I mean, he's actually bringing the extra game now, but there's two different players. You can't compare them right now, maybe scoring-wise, because Giannis is leading in the scoring. If you want to do that, if you want to put him in MVP race and compare them against each other. But impact on the game, KD has a more impact. Giannis has a better impact on his team. Giannis is a system player. KD can go anywhere.
Okay, so I think you and Jason just hit on some really great points. I think you guys have similar opinions that I do, but I'm just a fan of Giannis, man. I think hard work pays off, and if you're looking at a guy, Giannis, that go out there and hustles every single play. Turn on the tape right now. The hard work, the relentless pursuit to every ball, every rebound, every possession. That kid is going out there and giving it 100%. So, in my opinion, right now, Giannis is MVP, but he's not better than Kevin Durant at this moment. I think the arsenal of tools that Kevin Durant has is scary. We're talking about a guy that's 7 foot that can shoot like Curry.
Yeah.
That also has handles like Kyrie.
Yeah.
And he's an underrated passer. And when he wants, he shows flashes of greatness on defense. Kevin Durant is a scary sight, man. I think that's a generational talent. I don't think we'll ever see anything built like that again. But I will say this, but I think Giannis is on his ass because Giannis is a hard fucking worker. He's one of those guys that go out there and get out there every single game. And he's so dedicated to his craft that I'm pretty sure over the years he heard a lot of slander about, hey, he's only a one-trick pony. He has really worked on shooting, becoming a better shooter and everything.
True.
But, in all the other facets, he has dominated, man. You looking at a guy that can dominate in the paint, a guy that's going to hustle, a guy that's just going to bring that extra fire to the team. So I think he's a valuable asset to his team, but I just don't think he's better than Kevin Durant at this moment. But I think eventually he will be better.
You made a great point. Valuable to his team. KD, I mean, Giannis is just we don't know what this team looks like without him. We just don't know. We don't know what it looks like without him.
It isn't pretty.
I'm pretty sure it's not. He's the MVP of his team every year. He has that LeBron effect right now.
That's true.
LeBron of 2008 and before. He's like, I'm not saying that Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are a piece of paper and a water bottle. But you know what I mean? They aren't gold. I would say they're more silver, maybe even bronze. You know what I'm saying? They're not on that level.
Okay.
And we're looking at a team of, a pair of pants and a phone case and a microphone and like a piece of silver and a piece of bronze. That's basically what they have. Plus Giannis was like this diamond in the rough. Like, if he's definitely just really valuable to his team. I don't see this team without him doing anything. And as long as he's on that team will continue to succeed. But Giannis can't go to a different team and because the system's not going to be put around him. He's going to be put around scrubs again. Like, that's the only way it's going to work. I don't see him working well with like another high value talent in the NBA. I think he would have to have somebody a little bit under him in order for him to really, really, really operate at the high level that he is now.
I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think that man, I think the system he in right now in Milwaukee is definitely geared towards him. But let's not take away from this man's hard work, his work ethic, and character.
Oh, no.
He's one of those high energy guys. I don't care if you put him on any system. He may not flourish the way he flourished in Milwaukee, but the hard work is going to be continued no matter what team he's on.
Of course, the hard work is going to be.
I think he's going to hustle whatever team he's on, but
that's not the problem.
He may not have the same success. But my question for you guys: so, are you KD and Jason is Giannis, or Jason's KD and you Giannis? Out of you guys, who? Yeah, that's what I want to know. Who's most valuable to the podcast?
Listen. Okay. Listen. I'll settle this for you. It's Magic and Bird. That's what it is.
Hey, and I'm guessing he's
sir.
okay. It makes
Magic
sense.
And Bird.
Okay.
Magic and Bird.
Okay, it makes sense. Look, that question was for the fans out there that's listening right now. Fans, I got you guys.
Magic and Bird.
Yeah, we bring. There's some different things both of us bring to the table. I'm like very, very detailed, and Chris like really challenges my points really well. So yeah, I think we just really fit well together, to be honest with you. One thing I do want to say though about Giannis, I loved one of the things you said, and I think it's definitely something that makes me think that even though Luka might have more skill, Giannis is probably going to be the better one of the two out of the next 5 years, because the guy is religious on the working. Like, he comes out of Greece, he doesn't look anything like what he looks like now. That body, dear goodness, he looked like some thin sticks coming out in like 19. Like, he put on all that work. There's no way he had that handle. He has a really good handle, especially for his size. And all that, you know, the spin move, the Euro stepping, like, I completely agree with you. Like, he is a great example of a great worker. I'm sure there's been guys that are 6'11", really athletic, that don't hold a stick to what he's done in the league because he's worked tooth and nail to get there. So I'm really 100% with that, and I feel like that's something that's so hard to judge
absolutely.
For somebody who's trying to scout somebody. But I couldn't agree with you more. Like, everybody who's elite has that crazy, like Kobe, LeBron, MJ. Like, these guys are wired just different. They're different human beings.
They're like great workers. All the greats are great workers.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking that away from him. What I was just getting at was more along the lines that KD could be valuable to any team, and I just think that Giannis is more valuable to his team.
Now, this is where I got to push back at. I do like KD's style of play, but I also see him, he has the ability to turn it off. Like, as far as not go hard some plays.
That's what makes him valuable. He can like Jason was saying. Jason said that just like literally KD could average. Okay. Let's just be cut and dry right here. KD is probably the best scorer we've probably ever seen in the past 10 years. That's just facts. That's just
best
facts.
Scorer?
The best scorer we've probably seen in the past 10 years. He's 7 foot. He has a handle like Kyrie. He can shoot like Curry. I mean, like, what can this man not do, scoring wise? Okay, so now that that's out the way and that point has been made, KD versus Giannis is just that KD brings more to the table, I think, in that respect. Because I just think KD could go on any team and really have his way. But he decides not to, because look at the Nets right now. Mm-hmm. Kyrie can go off and have 50, and KD can have 32, but KD can average about 40, 50 points every night because he's just that unstoppable. It's just that possible. But he decides to take a diminished role just because he cares about winning. Because he could drop 40, but then Kyrie doesn't get off like he needs to in order to win the game. We don't have as many shots from Seth Curry, you know what I mean? If we don't have as many shots from Patty Mills, because he just has that ability to just take over a game. But he can take that diminished role to let his stars and role players shine.
Arguably, every team KD has played on, he has played on with players that are all stars. That's true. That all stars and may be in the NBA Hall of Fame.
That's very true.
So, is it safe to say that the guys around him has made him better? If you're playing with those kind of caliber of guys, because if you're playing with elite players in the locker room, that's the chemistry and that's the culture to go out there and be elite.
Exactly, and then I'm gonna let you go, Jay. The best thing that ever happened to Kevin Durant, and some people may hate when I say this, is that he left OKC and went to Golden State. That's the best thing that ever happened to his career. That's what made him the player he is right now.
No way you just said that on live air.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Wow. Fans, do you guys agree?
Go ahead, Jay.
I would I'd probably disagree with that. I think it was too lopsided for the NBA for a few years with him there. But one thing that's kind of interesting about KD,
not for the NBA. It was probably worse than the NBA, but
is
for him though.
Yeah. I completely understand what you're trying to say, Chris. And one thing that was brought up that was pretty good that I liked is KD is probably the most efficient 28 ever. 28 points per game. But he has this kind of odd thing in his brain where he likes to play the style of basketball that he wants to play, where he doesn't really have to really try to go out there and score 40 when his team's not that good. There's a lot of times when Kyrie's not on the floor where I'm like, KD, you should be a lot more aggressive in these situations. And you did bring up a good point where he can kind of turn it off. Well, if he's doesn't feel like the lights are really bright enough, or if it's not a great moment, he does kind of, sometimes I think there's, the MJ, the Kobe, those guys are like him, phenomenal scorers, but they had no off button. They had to have the off button beaten to their head. Michael Jordan had to go in the NBA for 6 or 7 years, and Phil Jackson have to beat in his head that other people are actually open on the basketball floor. Now, who wins more? Who's more productive of winning? That's the debatable question. People are going to have different answers for that. But I personally would lean a little bit more to the guy that soaks all the living ounces of possible points and impact that he can have on the floor. And I think KD is not really that kind of guy, and so I think he's more like a natural deferrer too. He likes to have Steph there and, other guys there that are leaders. He's kind of just not, he's not like LeBron where he's just I'm an amazing leader, and MJ and Kobe where they're just ridiculous, alphas in the pack. So I feel like that's a good point brought up. You know what I mean? So that's something interesting about KD.
And no disrespect to the listeners that's from Wisconsin, but Wisconsin is in Miami. It is in Los Angeles. It snows. It isn't a beautiful place. It isn't, a spectacular place. Yes. Rain, sleet, hell, or snow. I know what I'm going to get out of Giannis.
Yeah.
Effort. True. Every single game. I don't care. I don't care who those guys are playing. Each game I know I'm going to get effort from Giannis, where times where I've seen KD play and he dropped 10 points, 8 points. I've seen those games. I've seen those times for KD. I'm not taking it. I'm not trying to diminish his talent, but sometimes he does take the black seat where Giannis is more on top of things. He doesn't take the backseat on his team.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
The reason why Giannis doesn't take the backseat is because he can't.
Go ahead. Yeah.
He honestly can't.
Has Kobe ever took in the back seat? Has Mike ever took the back seat? Has LeBron ever took the back seat?
No.
It
can be argued. It can be argued.
Elite players that never took
Kobe
the
had
back
to
seat.
against Shaq, with Shaq.
Okay.
And Scotty is not on the level of Mike, so that's different. But I'm saying that here's the big thing is that so Kyrie and KD are two of the best scorers, and when they had James Harden, that was like three of the best scorers in the league at that point.
Sure.
Jesus.
But Giannis can't take a backseat because Chris Middleton may or may not produce. Drew Holiday may or may not produce. If he can't take a backseat to 10 points. He can't take a backseat to 12 points. He can't take a backseat to 15 and 10. He can't take a backseat to that.
Right.
It's a different team. That's why I'm not diminishing Giannis at all. I will not do that. He's a superstar in his own right. He's a great player. I can't do that. Mm-hmm. My big thing is that he's more valuable to his team than he would be to the NBA because he wouldn't. I mean, I don't see him necessarily fitting anywhere else because he's perfect for that team. Mm-hmm. He's perfect for that team. It allows it. Okay, you can hide Chris Middleton all you want until Chris Middleton feels like, okay, I'm gonna drop 30 tonight. Like you can really do that with Giannis on the team. You could hide Drew Holiday until he feels like I want to, drop 15 or 20 points because Giannis is going to show up every night. The players on his team do not show up every night. Chris Middleton is the most inconsistent player. Drew Holiday is consistently inconsistent to an extent, except for on the defensive end. But offensively, he's inconsistent. Chris Middleton is inconsistent. The only consistent thing on the Bucks team is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's most valuable to his team.
Mm-hmm. Giannis in Wisconsin having crappy weather is the most consistent thing that's in. Yeah. So guys, just to switch gears a little bit. I know you guys got an itinerary, but I want to talk about this. This is one of my favorite players in the league, man. This young guy here, phenomenal talent, and he jumps out the gym. I'm really big on this guy. I think he's going to be a future superstar in our league. Anthony Edwards, man.
Ooh,
I like that kid a lot.
Yeah,
I like his upside and what he brings to the game, and what he's been able to do in Minnesota has been amazing to see, man. I think. So what's you guys' thoughts on Anthony Edwards, and do you see the Minnesota Timberwolves, do anything this season or any time in the future?
Do you want me to go first, Chris?
You want to go first?
I guess I can go first.
You go ahead, Jay.
The sad thing is that the talent is there, right? Cat. Top 3 center in the league, obviously number 3, but top 3 center in the league. Anthony Edwards has the potential to be a top 3 best shooting guard in the league, and he has star potential. And D'Angelo Russell is a really good 3 on a championship team. But I worry about the fact that I just don't trust the Timberwolves as an organization at all. I think they're one of the worst run organizations in the league. I think they've shown it for a very long time. I think the fact that you have 3 guys on one team that they can all have bad games, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and Cat, and have 6 seed combined. And they're like the 6th seed. That's because they just don't know how to build a team.
That's crazy.
And I just don't trust the organization. The reason why I don't trust the organization is because one thing that I really think it's an ownership problem, because I guess holding against them is Kevin Garnett and them have such a bad relationship that he is not going to let them retire their number. His number. He is the greatest player in Timberwolves history, and he got treated so poorly by the organization that he's not going to let them do that. They just don't seem like they really have a winning culture. It's going to be one of those situations where it might be one of those what if stories where you're like, wow, this team had so much talent, but for some reason they can never figure it out. It's because the organization doesn't know how to build a team. Now if they get one good piece in their front office wise, maybe they have a chance. If they get a good GM that's like, okay, these guys need role players who are star in their roles and build a team around them correctly, then maybe they become good. Or if they get a head coach that's like, man, I have the system, I have these ideas of how I'm going to use, Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell in the pick and roll and all these posts and all these different things I could do. If they get one key piece, I could be wrong. But, the chances are low of that. So I agree with the talent. I just disagree with the organization.
Great point made, Jason. Great point.
I would say I'm more on Jason's side with this because I think that the Timberwolves could, even though they have a little bit more talent than the Utah Jazz, because they have Cat and they have D'Angelo, it could become a Donovan Mitchell situation with Anthony Edwards because you have an electric guy who's scoring, they're trying to make him the face because they're pushing him out in front of everybody. Right. They're trying to make him the face of the organization. He's a high level scorer, high level guy, high energy guy, but it just turns into the fact that it's just a poorly run organization. They suck at putting the right pieces around these guys. Like, there's no way that the Minnesota Timberwolves shouldn't be a top team in the West with what you have available to you. The problem is that they're giving Cat, D'Angelo Russell, and Anthony Edwards under 6 foot guys in a league where everybody's like 6'7" and up right now, and they can't defend a lick. They can't really do anything outside those three, and it's just become a big problem. That's why they'll continue to lose until they really have a culture change in Minnesota. Front office need to be fired. Everybody there needs to go. Mm-hmm. Owner probably needs to sell the team at this point and give it up to somebody else who can really maximize the talent. You have the talent. It's sleeping right now.
Wow, that was a great point, Chris. I agree with the both of you guys just said. And just to elaborate a little more, I think it pretty much falls on the front office and the coaching staff. You have a great team. Well, you have a young team that have the potential to be elite and be great. Just like you guys mentioned, Edwards, Cat, and Russell.
Yeah,
that starts in practice. That starts in the locker room. That starts in summer in the workouts. So these guys can go in there and expect to win games. I just don't see that consistently, night in and night out. Those guys go out there and win. I think the stigma in Minnesota is that, hey, we suck. So if we do above average, that's okay to our fan base. It's not a winning culture there, and it's evident when I see those guys play.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, they're like 3-3-and-D wings that really know how to do their role and play defense. Jay Crowder, away from being a legitimate team. Even Chris, you brought up a guy, Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder goes there. They're an NBA championship level team. Like, if they get a good coach over there, that's like I can like the reason why the Jazz have been so great for the past 5 years is partially because Donovan Mitchell, is partially because of Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder is one of the most underrated coaches of the NBA. So it's do they get lucky and get one of those guys that can either build a team or really coach, put the players in the right positions. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
I love watching them.
They definitely
so much
look
fun.
at GMs and they look at coaches because whoever the coach is over there, he's terrible right now. Yeah. There's no way he still has a job. There's no possible way he still has a job. Unless they just don't care about it. They just don't care about winning over there.
That's front office. And I just want to move the conversation a little forward. Whoever for our avid listeners right now, if you have a brand or product and you want to shout out on this podcast, please feel free to click the link in bio, send us an email, and we will make sure to come at you guys. So for all promo, anything, just send us an email, DM, and we're going to take care of you guys. Going forward, man, I want to know, Dame. I want to know you guys' thoughts on James Harden. I know it's a little old, but James Harden going to Philly. I want to open up first with this one. I just want to go ahead and go at it. I think this game of basketball is predicated off what have you done for me lately.
There you go.
Winners are always recognized. James Harden is a scorer, great ball handler. He's not a winner. Mm-hmm. He doesn't win games. He hasn't won a championship. When it's all said and done, if James Harden does not win a championship, I think it's going to put a dent on his NBA legacy, and he'll never reach that status of elite player if he doesn't win a championship.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take on that. Go ahead, Jay, because I know you got a different opinion.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, I don't think he really have a talented enough team to win an NBA championship. when you were facing against the Warriors, especially when they had KD, and that's when they were really good with CP3. But I think that there is a point to be made that James Harden's not really the kind of guard that's like great ball control, possession control, where he can make turnovers late in the game that cost teams. I don't think that's an unfair point at all. And I do think, though, that Joel Embiid and James Harden, I love the fit because I really believe in the duality of that perimeter shot creator and the great interior force. It's just going to stress out NBA defenses. It's just you can scheme all day you want to, but you're not stopping those two. And Tyrese Maxey fits well into that core, and they have a guy that you can throw against everybody. Not Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle. He can guard anybody on the floor that's not a forward or a center, and they just have enough shooting. And Tobias Harris, I really like I really think that they're a great team. I really love the way James Harden fits there, and I'm a big James Harden fan. And I guess there's a lot of players, in my opinion, that never really won an NBA championship, and I don't really I think players should be judged off of what they have done in their time. I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I'm gonna have to plug in my laptop 1 second. Well, you guys go.
Yeah. So, oh man, this is kind of a hard one because I really don't like James Harden that much. I really don't. So when he left, I was like all against it. I was against it because I was like, when are we going to stop pandering to this guy? You know what I mean? He did the same thing in Houston. He stopped playing, gained weight, and forced his way out in Houston. Right. Then he stopped playing, start complaining, start crying, and force his way out in Brooklyn to
that's
the
his character.
That's his character. That's not a winning character
at all.
At all. I mean, like I understand like the part time. I don't want to play the part time player, but if you're a great scorer, you're supposed to overcome that. You're a great player. You're supposed to overcome those things. You know what I'm saying? So even at KD, KD doesn't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? Right. They even took on Ben Simmons, and Ben Simmons is possibly the worst player in the NBA right now because he hasn't played a single game. He is averaging 0 points for the season, 0 rebounds, 0 steals, and 0 blocks. That's what Ben Simmons like, and they took him on. They actually welcomed him in with open arms. Right. And so I don't see how, I don't even know if this is a person or if this is just a player aspect, but I just don't believe in James Harden because of how he treated organizations. He really grabbed them and gripped them by the nuts and forced them to turn him to trade him. It's two different organizations, right. And when are we going to stop doing this? We have to stop pandering to this man. We have to stop giving him everything he wanted. There's one thing in history, and history is the greatest teacher. In history, I'm not saying that James Harden is Hitler, but in history, Hitler was given everything he wanted, and eventually he went to war.
Wow, that's a very controversial comparison, mate. At this point, we're going to take a quick TV break. A really quick TV break, okay?
Oh, Chris, you're playing with fire.
He's trying to get us canceled, huh?
No, but it makes sense because for history-wise, for all my history people out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They gave him everything he wanted, and he still went to war. When are we going to stop giving him what we want? You have to eventually fight the monster. You can't keep giving the monster what they want.
I think it just shows, Chris, that we are in a different time of basketball now, and players have more leverage, to do what they want to do. But I think I don't mind James Harden, having the leverage and moving the way he wants to move. But if you're going to move in that kind of capacity, as if your shit don't stink, you have to go out there and produce and win a championship. If you're not producing, you're not winning. You should not be so much of a prima donna when it comes to things like that. Going off James Harden's play, guaranteed Kobe Bryant is rolling over in his grave right now.
That's controversial.
Seeing his play.
That's controversial.
Kobe and the basketball gods is not okay with James Harden's style of play right now and what he's doing. So? And what he's doing. He hasn't won, man. He hasn't won a ring. Jason, I know you're sticking on this stuff. Not about guys, shouldn't be judged off wings. I say fuck that. Mm-hmm. I think guys should be judged off rings. What have you done for me lately? These guys go train, draft, all season to bring a championship to their organization.
Yeah.
No one wants titles, all that. No, you got to think about the bigger picture, which is championships and winning. And I think whatever team that James Harden is on, that organization wants to bring a championship to that city. And that's what the fans deserve as well, too.
Before I pass it off to you, Jay, I got something to say real quick. It's the same thing that's happening right now with Russ. Russ gets in the interviews with the reporters, and they're talking about how bad of a game he has. He's looking at him like, "Do you know who I am?" History should be able to tell you that I'm a great player, but I'm just having a bad game right now. Do you know who I am? So it's the same thing. I would disagree with you. I don't think that should be predicated off rings, because if it's predicated off rings, then we can't throw LeBron in the greatest player of all time because he only has 5. You know what I'm saying? So like we can't do that. So I wouldn't predicate it off rings, because I believe that there is something more that the player has to offer. He has to make the team better, elevate, you know what I mean? Score at a high level, show more than just, okay, because rings is just anybody can win a ring. I mean, how many rings does bench players have? What? Are they the greatest players of all time? Bill Russell has 11. If this predicated off rings, Bill Russell should have the greatest player of all time. He has 11.
Not I mean to cut you off. I don't think it solely should be predicated on rings, but I think that does play a factor into a player's eliteness level.
Not necessarily, because Wilt Chamberlain does not have 11 rings. Bill Russell does, and Wilt Chamberlain is technically the better player.
And we're going to go on a quick TV break again, because I just got schooled by Chris.
One player that immediately jumps to my head is Allen Iverson. Nobody will ever say Allen Iverson doesn't have rings. I view him differently, because we saw Allen Iverson jump on the floor every game, every night, give you 100%, and take that terrible team with Dikembe Mutombo's old-looking butt, get swept by the Lakers in 4.
Yeah.
I mean, when you squeeze every ounce that's possible to be had, that's where I would disagree. I would agree. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but if there's a lot of potential there and that the great player didn't lead it, then I would agree with you. Mm-hmm. But I feel like James Harden always maximized what his team could be. Pre-Chris Paul, I mean, that team couldn't do much. I mean, Chris Paul, they get to Western Conference Finals. They push KD, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green to 7 games, right? When Chris Paul got hurt. Yeah. They pushed them to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. So I feel like if you squeezed every ounce possible, then I would disagree. But I'm trying to think of somebody off the top of my head that was like, this is a great team, this is a great player. It didn't work out for some reason. And, I do think that, man, who is somebody like that? I'm trying my best to think off the top of my head, but nothing's coming to me. I would disagree.
JH, and while you think of the player, I just have to say this. You guys mentioned AI and Wilt.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are ringless.
Yeah. Well, no. Will has it.
No.
Will has like 2.
Will has 2?
I think it's 2.
Okay, so AI, that's a different time in basketball. Now these players have more leverage to go to different teams.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yeah.
These guys have more leverage. Hey, I want to go play elsewhere. I can do that. So I think James Harden has been at 3 different teams, and that's why I got my foot on his neck, because he's been at 3 different teams and has used his leverage and his star power and still hasn't won any games.
Well, LeBron changed the culture with that.
LeBron changed the culture for that. So this is the pushback I have for the both of you guys. Although you guys mentioned AI, right? Mm-hmm. That's a whole different era of basketball. Going from team to team, that wasn't a trend back. That wasn't a trend then.
No, you stick with it.
And I'm not trying to diminish anything that AI did. I think he's a phenomenal player, and he is one of the GOATs for sure. He's one of the GOATs for sure. But a guy like James Harden, man, who has been in multiple teams, who have had great talent on his team, and like I mentioned before, everyone on James Harden's team is potentially an all-star, a top 75, 100 player,
arguable,
and or Hall of Fame.
There you go.
So yes. and he hasn't won a championship. Right?
Yeah,
he hasn't won a champ. You had Kyrie, Katie, and him on the same team, and you could come out of the East.
I got pushback.
They were hurt.
Exactly, they were hurt.
Horseshit. All right,
they were hurt. Actually, James Harden and Kyrie was hurt, and that's when I gained respect for KD. Was that game he dropped 49 points?
KD, you had KD, Harden, and Russ. Although those guys was young,
That's not his fault.
Although those guys are young, right? Those guys didn't win.
I'm a big critical guy of James Harden. That's not his fault. That's front office fault. They split them up because they didn't want to pay James Harden.
Way too soon. They didn't see what he was going to be.
And when he as soon as he got traded to Houston, it was instant. His value was instant. They immediately saw his value and was eating sour grapes after that because they had to deal with Russ and KD, and KD eventually left.
Yeah, the guy that I got to is Dwight Howard when he went to the Lakers, where it's he goes with Kobe and Steve Nash, and it's like, you didn't produce there. Something must be off with you, Dwight, with winning. So that's the only person I was really able to think of.
Great example. And I just want to move the goalpost a little more, right? Push the conversation forward. Dame's gone. Dame's gone. In my opinion, Dame is leaving. If he doesn't leave, it's got to be something to leave. If he doesn't leave this season, I mean, not this season, or maybe even the off season, or however it may go, beginning of the next season, it's about the money. It is not about winning. If he does not leave, it's about the money. I want to say he's a Carmelo player. I think he's showing similar patterns that Carmelo showed.
Yeah, Carmelo.
Because Dame got in his league in 2012. Mm-hmm. That's a decade into the league.
Yeah.
I think that Melo career is similar like this, and we see Melo as a great player, but at the end of the day, man, as a competitor, me being a NCAA scholarship athlete, man, no matter how many stats we have, no matter how many accolades, we want to win, man.
Yeah.
We want to bring a championship and a ring back to the city. So I'm pretty sure if it isn't based on money, I think he should leave to win, man.
Yeah.
Because that front office has failed him for a decade to get the right pieces around him.
If he doesn't leave, consistently. If he doesn't leave, it's about money. It's the Carmelo effect. Carmelo really was like, I got gold medals, but you ain't got no rings. You don't have anything to show from your career besides, you did nothing. You were in the league and you really chose money over winning. It's literally evident. You chose money over winning.
I mean, one thing that I think could work out is I would trade Dame for AD. I think AD fits the timeline better of Portland. AD might be the better player when he's healthy and playing at his best potential.
Absolutely.
But he's not always on the floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dame's on the floor all the time other than this one ab injury that he had this year.
Yeah.
So and the perimeter shot creation ability at Dame is just so perfect of a fit with LeBron. We saw that kind of player with Kyrie where he was just so skilled and so tough to stop with a guy like LeBron on the floor who's able to make, 3 through 12 better on the roster. And you move Russ, you can trade him for, I don't care, Robin Lopez. It doesn't matter. Get him off the floor so you have space for Dame. Get the salary in there. Bring in some players, with that $44 million that Russ is walking around with.
Yeah,
and then they can win there. I feel like there's a lot of teams where Dame needs to be traded. Portland needs to do the right thing because they do not have anybody over there that's old enough to become winning by the time Dame, is still amazing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anthony Simmons is great, yeah, but is he ready to be on a championship winning team? No, he's too young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Brandon Boston is a good player, but he's a rookie in the league. He hasn't defined who he is as a player yet. He's not ready to be an NBA champion. That's just not going to meet timeline-wise. So if I'm Portland, I'm moving. 4 zone good.
For sure. Well, I'm not meaning to cut you guys short, but I got to run. Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much for having me on this podcast, man. It was a great conversation. The Basketball Addicts is a podcast. I'll let you turn on the regular. And since I am a guest, for the listeners out there right now, whoever shares, retweets to their Twitter, shares, comments, subscribe to the YouTube, whatever, man. I will randomly select a winner, and it will be a cash reward via Cash App. Just drop your Cash App tag in the comments, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, whatever platform you listen to this. I will randomly choose a winner. And thank you guys so much for having me on.
Oh, yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, thank you for being on.
Yeah, no problem.
It was fun.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Oh, right.
That's good.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was a nice little surprise. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Right. Oh, man. There were two.
Yes, sir.
Man,
There's one thing I'm dying to talk about.
What's up?
Duke UNC. Did you watch it?
I missed it, but I saw like highlights of it, and poor Coach K. I mean, he got to be proud of his guys, but damn, Jay, do you have the sour grapes over there? Is that what was crumpling? Are those sour grapes?
You have to understand, Chris. Like, Coach K is like so much of my childhood is just Coach K. Cause like Coach K, I'm like 4 or 5, and I'm living in North Carolina for like a year, and I think that's when Duke basketball got ingrained in me.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, I was not an NBA super duper fan other than watching the Cavs until getting a little older. I was a college basketball fan.
Yeah,
I was a Duke fanatic. Didn't miss a game. I love Coach K. I love the way he is. Like, he's a good human being. Like, he has a good soul. He touches everybody with a positive impact. I mean, I've read his book. Like, it's so sad. It's so sad because it's one of those moments where these moments are going to keep on coming for a while. We're going to watch LeBron pass by.
Yeah.
And then more of our childhood. Like, our childhood is walking away. Like, I grew up with Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with, one of the greatest college coaches, a guy that was connected to a different era when, like, he grew up. One of his biggest rivals was Jimmy V. Jimmy V was really great with the NC State in, like, the 90s.
Yeah.
And they used to go at it. But there's so many great stories that Coach K has. And it feels like so much of my childhood is just, like, passing by.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It really makes me sad. Like, and I really wanted them to win the national championship. I wanted it to happen. And for them to lose the UNC. Oh.
Yeah. It's like storybook ending, though, for him, though. Like,
yeah.
Like losing to UNC. One thing I will say is because, like, I'm not as big of a college basketball guy as you are. Coach K is what is to college basketball is what Greg Pop is to NBA basketball. Yeah, those are very similar guys. They really inspire the guys they have in order to win and maximize their talent. And forever he'll be ingrained into college basketball history because I think he's the winningest coach. I think he had like over 1,000 wins, right?
Yes.
He's the winningest coach in college basketball history. I think that Coach Pop will probably go down as the winningest coach in NBA history as well. Oh, he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he did that a couple years ago, actually. Right? He
did it this year.
He did it this year? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, same timeline and everything. So, I feel like I can agree with the sentiment that our youth is passing us by. We're seeing a lot of our childhood really go. I mean, like, for instance, top of last year, we lost Kobe. That's our childhood. You know what I mean? That's a big thing. And then next we'll probably see Coach Pop retire. LeBron's almost 40. How many more years do you think you're gonna squeeze out of this man? I mean, when he retires, what will the NBA look like? We won't see LeBron on the court anymore. Like, that'll be crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that a guy like Kai is like probably 30.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him rookie year, like having playing against the Boston Celtics when KG was still there. And having that one great finish to win the game, like, and being like, "Wow, Kai is so special."
Yeah, and
it's just it's gonna pass because one of our greatest memories is always gonna be 2016
for sure,
always.
Yeah,
and most of those guys are getting close to being out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be Kai after Kevin Love and LeBron leaves.
Yeah,
RJ's on TV, JR's retired, Deli's probably out of the league and probably playing in Australia. Like, who else? T-Top's in a rotational guy now. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How much time has flown by and how now that I think about the Warriors keeping everything intact is pretty special too. One thing that I found really interesting from like a scouting perspective is even though I hated the fact that North Carolina was dropping bombs, there's a guy that was really impressive. Caleb Love, shooting guard, point guard, 6'4", reminds me a lot of Darius Garland. And he was supposed to be like a second-round draft pick, but after he's lost his mind in March Madness, and he has the games in the regular season to back up that it's not just him getting really hot. So he made a lot of money, and nobody's made more money than him in the college basketball March Madness.
Yeah,
Caleb Love,
North Carolina. That's somebody we should be looking out for in the draft, huh? Maybe he'll get moved up.
Yeah, he's in my lottery right now.
Yeah. But Jason has a really good eye for those things, so
that's my specialty.
Yeah, Jason should definitely draft for teams. They should. Okay, listen out their NBA teams. Okay, listen, this is the only way I will ever give away my partner in crime, Jason. And if you guys hire him if one of you NBA teams hire him to draft for you, that's the only way.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Other than that, we are stuck. We're the basketball addicts. Figure it out.
That's on period. Oh my gosh.
And no matter what.
It was a beautiful game though. Like it was back and forth, competitive. It's sad though. It's sad. It was really odd that they didn't shake the hands. Duke players didn't shake the hands of the UNC players. I don't really know what that was about. I'm really surprised. That's not really the way you want things to end for Coach K.
Yeah.
And another thing I found interesting, kind of a little different thing about scouting is there's something I really just want to talk through with you. So there's this guy, Shaden Sharp. He was the number one prospect for the 2023 draft class. And he's been sitting on Kentucky's bench, not playing for Kentucky for this past year. And, he's an interesting prospect, but we talk a lot about, Giannis, these guys. I have to play.
Yeah.
A guy chooses to sit out for a year.
Did he register?
How much does he want it? No.
Yeah. He didn't register.
He wanted to practice with Kentucky and not play the games and go into draft.
What?
Yes, it's one of the most weirdest things I've seen. It's one of the weirder things I've seen.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is his name?
Shaden Sharp.
Mr. Sharp. How bad do you want it? Is the question.
No.
You go through all of this in high school to get drafted to a storied, program like the University of Kentucky as of late. That they produce, first round talent. And instead of playing and showing us what you can do and showing the scouts what you can do, except for just because they don't know what they're going to get into once they give you a workout.
Yeah.
You just think he's going to surprise everybody. Surprise! It's me. Like, what are you going to do, sir? Come on now. How are you just going to practice? If you practice, but you're not going to get in the game, are you hurt? If you're hurt, that's different. I'm not gonna dish you if you're hurt. But if you can play and you're able-bodied to play, don't be Ben Simmons. Don't do that.
Yeah. Because I like listening to a lot of NBA players talk about basketball and stuff like that, and I've been listening to Kevin Garnett's book. And one funny thing that happened that kind of hits this point home for me is in practice when he was with the Boston Celtics when they had an NBA championship winning team that year. In practice one day, he sat on the floor because Doc Rivers wanted to pull him out, but he wanted to keep on working on switching on Eddie House.
Yeah.
Because Eddie House was tearing him up and giving him the business. It was really beating up at him in the pick and roll situation, and he wanted to figure it out. And then he got done pouting, and then he goes to the sidelines, and you know what he does?
What?
He watches his backup, Leon Plo, play Eddie House, and then he does what he's doing on the sidelines and mirrors him and watches from learning him. That's how wired these guys are.
Yeah.
The top 1%ers. And to see a guy that doesn't want to play, it worries me, is he really that kind of guy?
Yeah.
So, I have a bad feeling.
One thing that we have mentioned, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. One thing that we did that we mentioned is that the greatest basketball players, the greatest basketball minds, they work. They're great workers. Yes. Great workers. Yes. And it shows on the court. But you can work all day in practice. But we don't know what you can do on the court. This isn't an AI situation. We're not talking about practice. We're talking about a game, sir. We're talking about a game, not practice. A game.
Yeah.
You got to get it together. I mean, like, are you going to... I mean, like, who's this? I mean, like, I wish you all the luck in the draft. Maybe you'll shut me up. You know what I mean? You don't even know, maybe not even care who I am. But from my perspective, it's just... It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
If you want to be in the top 1% of basketball players, which everybody has, they in their mind they think they're the greatest basketball player ever. You can't go into any sport not thinking that you're the best ever. If you want to be the best ever, this is how you have to carry yourself like the best ever. You have to be one of the greatest workers. You have to have one of the greatest work ethics. You have to have the Mamba mentality. These are things that you must possess. But we're not seeing that in practice. We don't get to see practice. I'm sorry, sir. We don't get to see practice.
Yeah.
We're talking about a game, not practice.
That definitely really bothers me about him. He has the upside of Bradley Beal though. That's where it's really odd. Yeah, it's a lot of perimeter shot creation and skill that you can see. Okay, I understand why he was the number one prospect coming out. It makes sense.
But he doesn't play.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man.
Hopefully really your dreams come true. But if not, I mean, we'll see you back and hopefully you play next year if that's the case.
Yes, go back to Kentucky. Go prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy doing this right now, Amani Bates. Amani Bates isn't getting a ton of playing time because he's really thin. He's not developed yet.
Yeah.
But he's playing for Memphis. He's at least trying. You know what I mean? He has that competitive energy. So, it's tough to read, but, the one cool thing that I also listen to is I was listening to Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and he was telling a funny story of when he was at the draft combine, and they asked him, "What do you want to be in the NBA?" And he said he wants to be an international pimp. And it was a lot more thought out than you would think. Apparently, he was doing it to show everybody when they asked him again, "What'd you say?" He's like, he doubles down and he says, "I want to be an international pimp." And the reason why is he wants to show everybody else that he's not going to back down when he's pushed, right? And you start thinking about these things, and like he was talking about how different people would react, and like people who would say, "Oh, I want to be one of the greatest players in the draft. I want to be the greatest player of all time." And then he said, "Oh, that's why Kobe would turn around and look at that person in the same draft." I was like, who's thinking exactly like me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that mentality is real. The people who really verbalize they want to be the greatest of all time at blank usually are top tier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a great example of that is Giannis. Like, Giannis was nothing like what he is now. May have been athletic coming out of Greece, sure. But the handle, the body, the skill, that's all blood and sweat and, hours, endless hours. So, yeah, these guys are just wired.
Yeah.
Wired human beings.
Yeah. And you have to be wired. If you want to be, if you want to share the same court that legends have graced, you have to be like that. You have to be in the top 1% of workers. You have to be like that. Even if even if you're top 1%, even if your work ethic, your greatest effort gets you on the bench, you're an NBA player.
Yeah. There are a lot of guys in the NBA that have Gerald Green. The fact that guy has that kind of hops and never developed any other skill and could have been such a great player. I hate to call a guy out like that in a podcast, but there's no way he's grinding like the top tier guys.
Yeah.
No way. I can't accept it. Not when you have all those athletic gifts. No. So, there's some guys in the league that just like, I am so gifted. I am so tall. I'm long. I got a great wingspan. They might not have the want to.
Yeah.
What I mean? So,
You gotta have the one.
It's a unique thing, Chris. It's a really unique thing.
I said maybe he needs to go back. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he needs to go back another year, figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one, Chris. Yeah. I mean, a guy that the only guy I've seen coming out of the draft that was like, I really want to be the best player in the league, it was Jalen Green coming out. Jalen Green verbalized that type of stuff.
Yeah.
In every interview that I saw, it was like, this guy, I want to be the best. So, Jalen
Green. I think he's going to turn that corner next year.
Yes, he just needs to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
And the team needs to give him the ball more. They're not letting him. They don't really let him get enough shots up, in my opinion.
They'll have to revamp that offense, give him a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Let him develop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, March Madness it's been really great. UNC versus Kansas is going to be a really good game. I have a feeling UNC is going to win because they just have, that feeling of that if factor on their side. And honestly, like, what do you think about this NBA season? Like, who do you feel like really has that if factor on their side?
Honestly, Memphis.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Memphis has it, and I say that, and I'll say it. I said it, and I'll say it again. Memphis. This is the kind of NBA season where Memphis could steamroll. They could steamroll the Western Conference in like wrong matchup, and they're taking it off. They're taking off. They're going right through it because I don't see a team that's better.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally would go with the Warriors. I just feel like they have it.
They've always had it, though.
To be healthy. That's true. That's 100% true, Chris. It's an easy answer.
Yeah, they've always had it. But I'm saying, like, as of this season, who's really like, okay, yeah, we're here, getting used to it. Memphis.
Yeah.
Memphis is going to be that Penny Hardaway Shaq team where Jordan was like, we got to beat these guys now. Or they're going to dominate the league. I mean, not Jordan. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. Hakeem. It was like, we got to beat these guys now because if not, they're going to dominate the league. That's what Memphis is right now. You have to beat these guys now. And I don't see you crushing them at all. You may get a win, but you're not going to crush their spirit. Not the way they are right now. You're not crushing them.
Yeah, I feel like this year is a weird year where not many teams completely changed after the All-Star break. I mean, the Boston Celtics won more, but I don't feel any different about. Usually, there's a team that's just like really clicks and they're figuring out things. Like last year, the Atlanta Hawks. You know what I mean? They were really clicking. They were figuring out things defensively, and they became more balanced. And, this year, it's just like, it's going to be a year where you're going to have to wait until the day the bracket comes out, and then you're going to have to go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting, too. I got Memphis going all the way. I'm sticking by it. And I'm going to cross my fingers on Jamal Murray coming back first.
I've been looking at the draft a little bit lately, and there are some scary good fits. Like, Jabari Smith, the junior, or Paolo Banchero for the Houston Rockets or the Orlando Magic, respectively. Either one. Makes both of those teams scary. Because then the Rockets have Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, what's his name? Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood, and Alperen Sengun. And that's a good team. Then the Magic have Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner, Pat Paulo, or Jabari Smith, Mo Bamba. And that's a good team.
Yeah.
And another super scary combination is, dear goodness, if Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham can pair, Christopher Muhammad, the Detroit Pistons will become an NBA champion level. That's an NBA championship level 1 and 2. Legitimately, because they would fit so perfectly well together, because Cade's this like slow, perfect operator. I'm efficient, but he's not hyper athletic. Jaden Ivey is. Jaden Ivey is the fastest guy in the draft, the quickest guy in the draft, the most athletic, most vertically gifted, like all of it. 6'4", perimeter shot creator, finisher at the rim, good passer. Like, dear goodness, Chris, it would be instant. 5 seconds. I'm not big on Chet. Still not big on Chet. There's a lot of people moving up and down my board after that, but man, the Jaden Ivey with Cade Cunningham. Seriously, that's like Luka playing with. Actually, Cade's not going to be as good as Luka, but
yeah.
It's like a great combination in the NBA. That's like Donovan Mitchell and Paul George. It's like these two are scary, and they do different things.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know something funny?
What?
There is a San Antonio Spurs player if I've ever seen him.
Who?
There is somebody that has a name that sounds like Nikola Jokic, Nikola Jovic. 10. Moves smoothly, passes well, has a few good, I can get to some spots and make some shots, and shoots the ball at 36%. It's like he is screaming out San Antonio Spurs. They love their efficient basketball. They love their players that can pass but are not super dominant scoring the basketball. It's just like there's some teams that just have perfect fits, and they don't really divert from that. And you might as well just pencil it in now. Nikola Jovic is going to be drafted by the San Antonio Spurs. And they're going to have another high-level NBA championship role player with no NBA championship stars.
Yeah. That's true.
Like, I don't know why, let's just call it the Chicago Bulls, the Boston Celtics, like, the Boston Celtics already did this. Why don't you just trade for the San Antonio Spurs players? Because they're high-level role players. Yeah. Like, that's all they do. They got 12 of them over there. They might be starting for them like Doug McDermott, but, on your team, that's a good shooter. That's a good role player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even guys like Keita Bates-Diop, 6'9", defends, shoots threes, doesn't do anything else. Like, it's just like it's the whole team over there, man. It's crazy.
The whole team over there is just a high level role player.
Yes.
They draft well. You're right. That is a Spurs-esque player. they would definitely pick him up with the quickness.
Yes. Like Kyle Anderson coming out of college, like he was such a San Antonio Spur. Slow, 6'7", point guard. And he's gonna go to San Antonio because he passes the ball well. He's positionless. He's a good role player.
that Spurs high level passing game they have over there. Perfect fit.
Who's scoring? Nobody knows.
Ball movement wins game. Beautiful ball movement.
We're just gonna pass the ball for 24 seconds. Doesn't matter if we score. That is literally the Spurs.
Yeah. Who's taking the shot? We don't know either.
Greg Popovich is taking shots at the end of the 23 seconds.
Great. Pass the ball, Greg Popovich. Shoots the ball.
You guys can't score anyway.
Great.
Is Tim Duncan here? No. Mono here? No. Tony here? No. I could just be fucking weird, crazy if I want to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a collection over there. They collect them like I collect knickknacks. I'm an old lady, Chris.
Not an old lady.
Dude, no. It is bad. Every time I get a chance, bro, I hit up the local thrift store and I'm looking for knickknacks. You want to see the? Wait. You think I'm kidding?
Show me a knickknack, Jerry. Show me a knickknack. It's completely off topic. Just show me a knickknack. I want to see one now because he's like, I can like knickknacks. Is that what all those were? Those were knickknacks up there. This has to go on Instagram.
Yes,
post this, clip this, and post this to Instagram. I have to see. They have to see your knickknacks, Jay. They gotta see your knickknacks. It said clip this and post it to Instagram. They have to see your knickknacks.
Look at this right here. This is some old lady shit right here. Look at this. It's really great decor. I got the marble elephant. I got the marble elephant.
Yo, you got
balls. Look at this. I got them in different colors, you know.
You had to get more than one, of course.
Oh, you better believe I got these eggs. I got another one that looks the exact same. Bro, like I was like, I'm matching. I got a plate collection back there.
I see it.
I got like 5 plates, and like 3 of them are like these flowery plates because I think they're cool paintings. Like, literally, it is extremely bad, Chris.
It's the art guy in you. It's the art guy.
Yes, it's so bad.
It's the art guy in you. If you didn't know, Jason makes art. What's the artist that you made? Is it Jackson something or
Jackson Pollock?
Jackson Pollock. Yeah, he makes Jackson Pollock as paintings. So yeah, he's the artist. And they're really good too. Actually, I have one. Where's mine at? Hold on a second. I'm gonna go grab mine.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's an addiction. It really is. There it is.
This is my Jackson Pollock. This is my original Jason Pollock.
That's Jason Collins, red and black.
It's my original Jason Collins. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's bad. Do you have anything odd like that that's just like really bad that you really collect or really, really can't stop? Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, I love this. But no, I don't. Actually, I don't. I don't collect anything.
Oh man, it's a thrift shopping thing, man. I love thrift shopping and just trying to like find something that's like, I love this. It's like $5.
Well, Jay, I don't know if you agree or not, but I feel like this is just a natural stopping point for it.
But I have more knickknacks.
We don't need to see knickknacks. Come on, come back. Let's say for basketball. Okay. Well, you know. Right. Peace out. It's